Welcome to the Powerlifting and Power Ballads podcast, where we bring you a weekly dose of powerlifting news, tips, and training advice with a touch of 80s rock ballads. This podcast is presented by Team Roar Powerlifting, your source of the most comprehensive coaching and meet day preparation. Here are your hosts, Josh Rohr and Laura Sturm.
Welcome to episode 132. Hi, Josh Rohr.
What's up, Laura?
Not much. So you just got back from the Arnold. How was it?
Yeah, I got back late Sunday night. It was good. It was fun. I got to see some college friends and stuff too.
Oh, neat.
They're, a lot of them live in Columbus, so that was pretty cool. But yeah, I'm pretty exhausted. We had 5 lifters compete. Amy Pancake, Alicia Webb, Joe House, Stacy Metcalf, and Katie Dodge. We had some highs and lows. I don't think overall as a team, it wasn't our most spectacular performance, but it was pretty solid. Amy went 6 for 9. Unfortunately, the 3 lifts that she missed were all the same lift, so she ended up bombing, but she pulled a 172.5 kilo PR deadlift at the end of the meet.
Nice.
After missing her benches. So I'm not sure what's going on with the bench, man. Like, it's frustrating because we'd bombed on bench at nationals in June last year. So we switched to a different shirt, and just to be extra cautious, we actually warmed up to her opener so that
Right.
just to make sure that she was good, and she pressed it pretty well. And then on the opener, just misgrooved, and it kind of dumped at her face. Second attempt, the TC actually called the wrong lifter out. So the wrong lifter went out, laid down on the bench, and realized it was the wrong one. And basically, by the time she got out there was like 10 seconds left, and she actually got the start command in time, but she was just so rushed, it just wasn't going to happen. And she pressed it out even so, but they called downward motion. Which I stand by it. I did not see downward motion. I have not gone back and watched a live stream yet. I saw it stop a few times, but I never saw it come down from my vantage point. So I am curious to look at the live stream. But it was 2 reds. There was 3 reds, but 2 blue cards for downward motion, and then there's 1 yellow card, I'm assuming, for butt. So couldn't protest it because there's 3 reds.
Right.
But then the third attempt, she pressed it up again. And there was for sure no downward motion, but she got 2 reds with a yellow from the sides for butt coming up. So the strength was there, and it moved well. Like when she actually pressed, like the warm up room one and the third attempt it moved pretty well. But just again, it just happened that it didn't happen. So
I talked to her a little bit and said, hey, you're not a real equipped powerlifter until you want to have a bench shirt bonfire.
Yeah.
The shirt is a thing.
Unfortunately, I think she may be serious about doing that.
She wasn't. She's still down to figure it out. So
all right, cool.
So
well, not all of the bench shirts, but that one in particular, I feel like she might be.
Maybe.
I might need to ask for that back here pretty quick. Let me hold on to that
Before it starts smoldering.
Yeah. Alicia Webb lifted as well. She lifted on all these were Friday. She lifted in the Masters Pro Series final, and she went 6 for 9. Hit a 208 kilo squat, which was a Masters 2 world record. Might have been a Masters 1 world record also. I'm not sure, actually. I didn't even look at that. But and then she hit a 120 kilo bench and a 205 deadlift, and she placed first in the M1s and first in overall as Masters. So she won $1,500. So she's she's a Masters Pro Series champion. So that the inaugural Masters Pro Series champion. That's pretty cool.
That is neat.
Joe House went 8 for 9. He had a 160 squat, 115 bench, and 220 deadlift, and he got first in the M4 category and 5th overall in the Masters Pro Series. So he got $500. And his third deadlift was actually to move him from 8th place to 5th place overall, and he came through with it. So that was pretty cool. It was kind of crazy, like, cause so Wade was there helping us, Wade Johnson, and Joe, his last warm up was like 385, and we were opening pretty light. He's like, man, this kind of feels heavy. He's like, maybe we should lower it. And I was actually thinking about it. Because he had already kind of wrapped up. He just needed his opener to win the M4s and win $500. So I'm like, well, we can, maybe do that, is what I'm thinking to myself. I'm like, yeah, we'll lower it and then, take a bigger jump. And Wade comes over. He's like, I don't want to hear that. Just starts getting in Joe's face. And it worked because every attempt Joe did looked easier than the last one. And he ended up pulling 485. And he said the 385 felt really hard. And he had some left. Like he could have for sure pulled over 500 at that meet. But, you kind of listen to, I think that was a good lesson for me too. Like to me, it looked good, but Joe just said it felt hard, and I was gonna, listen to that and let him talk me into lowering it a little bit. But sometimes I think Wade was right there. Like sometimes you just gotta, get your shit together and get out of your own head and just go pull. In hindsight, we probably would have put 500 on. Well, maybe not, because that's what 485 is what we needed to move into fifth. So I guess we wouldn't have changed anything, but he was definitely capable of pulling 500. So
nice.
That'll be sometime in the future.
As M4, that's just so.
Yeah, it's awesome.
Badass. Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, and it's funny too because during bench, like he, before the meet, we had talked about like he's going to take a couple weeks, maybe a month off from training, and just kind of relax a little bit, let his body just kind of take some time. And like after squats, he's like, man, those felt so good. Like I kind of want to just get back in the gym. Maybe I won't take any time off. I'm like, nah, I think we'll take a little bit. Just give yourself like, a little bit away from it. But
yeah.
Stacy Metcalf lifted in the finals as well. She earned her Masters Pro card. She went 6 for 9. She hit a 72.5 kilo squat, 55 kilo bench, and 97.5 kilo deadlift. All of those are meet PRs. And she placed 7th overall in the Masters. Fun fact, she put gear on. We didn't tell anybody going in, but she actually put gear on and lifted equipped. So she wore a squat suit and a bench shirt and pulled in the squat suit. So not sure if we got her hooked on that or not, but
it's a slow process. Slow. It's okay. We are the Borg. We will assimilate.
And we kind of messed her up on her second squat though. Like on her second squat, she ended up timing out because I was wrapping Katie and she was the last lifter in the flight. And then Stacy was like the second lifter in round 2. And we had a couple people back there. But I got Katie up and went out with her and was like turning in her number. And I guess, and this was on me, I just assumed that one of the people in the back were going to get her up and ready and wrapped and everything. And nobody did. So she ended up timing out. So that was on us, me specifically. And then she came back on her third and went down and up with it, but she got called 2-1 on depth, but she did what she needed to do. She placed 3rd in the M2s and earned her Masters Pro card. So, at the end of the day, she did what she had to do. Katie Dodge, she was probably don't take this the wrong way, she was probably the dumbest one of the weekend. She competed Friday and Saturday.
Oh, I see what you mean. Yeah.
It actually, she surprisingly did okay, like lifting twice. I was actually kind of shocked that it didn't take more of a toll. But so Friday was the Masters Pro Series final, and she lifted in the M1s. She went 7 for 9. She missed her opening squat on depth, and then she missed her third pull, which would have been for the win. But we kind of decided going in that, just knowing who the competition was and everything, like we were going to go a little bit conservative on numbers, so that, we can save herself for the actual Open Pro Series final on Saturday. So she had finished with a 212.5 kilo squat, which is what she opened with on Saturday. So the squat went well. She had a 138 kilo bench and a 195 kilo deadlift. The unfortunate part is like she lost her grip on her third pull of 205.5, which would have for sure secured the win and $1,500, and it just slipped out of her hand. And she's pulled more than that multiple times.
Right.
So I thought it was a safe strategy. In hindsight, I would have put more on her squat because, like, but I figured deadlift would take the least out of her, going a little heavier, and we would know exactly how much we needed to go at the end. And, so just it wasn't in the cards. But congrats to Keelani Richardson. She's the one that won that. She won the M1s and the overall. So Katie ended up second in the M1s and second overall. Anyway, it was a fun battle though. But yeah, we would have loved to have been on the winning end of that.
Right.
And then Katie lifted again on Saturday. She went 5 for 9. She ended up with a 225.5 squat, which was like 2.5 kilos under the world record. She missed her second squat on depth, which was 225.5. And I think so. Initially, we thought that she said that I probably wrapped her too tight for the weight, but after the meet was over, thinking about it, she's like, actually, I think what it was is my knees were kind of scabbed over on the back from the Friday lifting, and I think I was just more sensitive to the wraps. But she came back on the third. I wrapped her a little bit looser, and she hit her third squat, the 225.5. So she benched 140.5, which was a meet PR, but we went to 150.5 because the current world record is 150. So we chipped it, and she locked it out, but got called 2-1 for her butt coming up. So that would have been a world record, but again missed. And then her deadlift, she opened at 180, and then we jumped to 196 because that's kind of what we needed to move into, I believe, third place after everybody else's openers, assuming that people missed their seconds, which they made, so it didn't really matter. But she actually lost her balance at the top, so that one didn't count. And then we did the math, and she needed 218.5 to move into third place, and in the open, third place pays 1,500. Fourth place pays nothing. So we're like, well, we're putting it on. We got nothing to lose here. So she's got it moving, but it was just a little bit too much. Like, I think on paper, I think we had like 212.5 is what I had as like her top end. So I'm like, I would go 5 keys over that. But again, going back, if she would have, made her second squat and we went a little bit there, or she made her third bench, now we're pulling 208.5 instead of 218.5. And, it changes things a little bit.
Makes a difference.
The difference, I guess it's the silver lining, I don't know, is Lauren Cudworth pulled after us anyway, and she actually made her third deadlift that put her into third place. So she would have actually edged us out of third place anyway, even if we made it. But for the time being, it would have put us in the third place position. So I guess at the end of the day, it didn't make that much difference, but it was fun because both the Katie's meets were like really good battles. So it was a lot of fun.
Very cool.
So actually, Amy and I ended up being on the same flight flying up, and Amy and David Goodwin were on the same flight coming home. So it was fun.
Oh, nice. Yeah, that makes it a little bit more fun too.
Yeah, and we didn't plan that; it just happened. I guess we should. I don't know why we didn't plan it, because I guess we should have.
Right, because you're all going from Atlanta to Ohio, right?
Yeah.
There's that.
Maybe next year.
That's okay. After the bench shirt bonfire.
Yeah. Maybe we can do like a symbolic bonfire. Like, we can burn something that represents a bench shirt, but let's not actually burn the bench shirt.
We could take a meat shirt. That's a t-shirt.
We could burn some 50 Shades shirts. How about that?
No.
Vetoed.
No. Vetoed. No.
Yeah.
All right. So, Josh, are you ready for the powerlifting situation?
I'm ready.
All right. Here it is. The gym you go to has a lot of machines and competition equipment off to the side that the powerlifters train on. And starting June 1st, they're going to start charging an additional $20 a month for members to use the competition equipment. What do you do?
I mean, for me, if they still have like power racks and stuff like that, I'll just use those. Like, I think training on kilo plates and competition equipment is actually overrated myself. Because it's only been, I'd say, in the last 10 years that gyms or people or anybody outside of meet directors have had competition equipment. So like up until 2010-ish, every power lifter just trained on regular stuff and they were just fine. So yeah, I think people get spoiled with kilo plates and competition equipment. And don't get me wrong, I don't think it's bad to train on it occasionally, but like when you literally won't do any of your training unless it's on that kind of equipment, or you can't because you slide on a commercial bench or whatever, that's typically an indication that there's a reliance on it. So like maybe your upper back's not strong enough to maintain an arch that if you're sliding every time you try to bench on a commercial bench. Don't get me wrong, there's some shitty commercial benches, like, for sure, but to need the actual competition bench every single time, I don't know, that's probably a you problem, I think, in my opinion.
I thought that you were going to say, that's probably an indication that you're really just a little bitch.
No,
but that's not what you said. So.
I mean, that's what Sherman told me a while back.
Stop being a little bitch.
Yeah, no. So the scenario, I can't remember what it was. I think I was breaking in a new shirt, and I'm like, man, it's just like I'm having a hard time bringing it down. Like it's not the shirt not letting me come down. It's like it's like pinching so bad. And he's like, Josh, he's like, I'm not saying you're being a little bitch, but and then I don't know what he said after that, but that just like pissed me off, and then it worked just fine. So he knew what he was doing.
But you're being a little bitch.
Yeah.
So yeah.
So read between the lines here, what I'm saying.
Well, anytime you have to say, I'm not saying that I'm saying blah blah blah, but like usually you don't even hear the but part anyway. So it's
pretty clear what you're actually saying, and it's what you're saying.
Yeah. So stop being a little bitch and make do with what you got.
Yeah. I mean, if you want to pay the additional 20 a month and use it, great. But like, I think here's the thing. I think gym owners could do that and people would pay it because everybody is like, oh, I gotta have kilo plates, gotta have blah, blah, blah. It's like, you really don't, but whatever.
Strangely enough, in my garage setup for my my rack, it's a competition rack and I have kilo plates.
Yeah, but I get it. But you also
because I was a gym owner, so
and you also ran meets. Like it wasn't
right.
It's not like that's still different. Like if you're buying like one little thing to train on, like that's probably the most universal because you can squat and bench out of it. Kilo plates fine, but it's the people that join gyms that like so Quest, for example, like people have come in there before. Like it's one of the best powerlifting gyms in the country, I think. And people have come in before and like ended up not joining just because we don't have kilo plates in there. Like we even have the competition racks and bars, but we just don't have kilo plates.
Racks.
And nice bars. And they're like, nah, we're not. I'm looking for somewhere I can train on kilos. I'm like, here's what I want to say to these people is like, here's a little secret.
Weight's actually still the same.
Like you still got to actually lift heavy weight and get stronger. Like kilo plates don't make you stronger. It's lifting the weights makes you stronger. So it kind of doesn't matter that much. Like,
no, it really doesn't.
And especially with the level of people that are coming in sometimes and saying that, it's like, all right, you need to train and compete for like 5 years before you even get to a point that it's going to matter. So like, kind of shut the hell up. Like,
yeah. Okay.
Exactly.
So the new lifter tip is not stop being a little bitch. It's know the size of your session so that you can determine the pace of the meet and prepare accordingly. Agree or disagree?
Agree. Yeah. I think, different meets. So for example, all of the events our lifters competed in 3 separate events. The Masters of Iron, the Masters Pro Series final, and the Open Pro Series final. And each one was different. So the Masters of Iron that Amy did, it was one flight, her platform was one flight, and it was like 9 lifters. So it was super fast. Like as soon as she got done squatting, we actually did her first 2 bench warm-ups with her squat suit still on. Took it off and then kept going because it was so fast. Like, and people were rushed and having a hard time because they just weren't really prepared for that kind of speed.
Yeah.
And we kind of practiced that a little bit, and also going in, we kind of knew what to expect. So like, that's kind of what we did. And then the Masters Pro Series final, it was 2 pretty big flights, so it was still fast, but you had a little bit more time, and you could plan things accordingly. The Pro Series final on Saturday was 3 flights, and that was actually kind of a little bit more drawn out. So the main tip and takeaway there is like how you eat is going to be very different between those 3 events because the timing is so much different. So like, when you're preparing your food and snacks or whatever and drinks, whatever, like you want to kind of have a plan, like when and how often you're going to eat, drink, and things like that throughout the meet, because, on Saturday, you could probably eat pretty hefty after you squat because you got a lot of time before bench and whatnot. I mean, not like gorge yourself, but in Amy's situation, I mean, there's no time for that. Like you got to basically take a bite in between your warm-ups in between putting your suit on, taking your suit off and putting your shirt on and stuff like that. So I think it's something that I saw a lot of people not prepared for. And it kind of made me think of it like, and that's a high level meet. Like that's the Arnold. Like it's
Right.
so, just knowing how many people are in your flight, how many people are in other flights, if there's other flights, and just knowing the rules too, because another thing I saw happening was people didn't know how long of a break there was going to be, because there's always a 10-minute break. They're like, well, that's not enough time. Like, what am I going to do? But the rules say on a one flight meet, it's a 20-minute break, not 10. So people were like really rushing and almost warming up too early with the one flight, and people just didn't know what to do or how to time things. And it's actually really straightforward if you just kind of the rule and you look ahead of time so you know what to expect.
All right. Yeah, I can't imagine trying to do some bench warm-ups with my squats still.
Yeah. I mean, it was the first one, so it was like the empty bar and then like 40 kilos.
Right.
It wasn't anything crazy, but
right.
And we just wanted to get those out of the way. That way, then she could take time and do some of her mobility and take the suit off and just all the little things. Because if she just kind of sits down, eats for a little bit, then takes the suit off, well, now we're kind of up against the time limit of getting all their warm-ups in, and she hasn't done any mobility stuff. So we wanted to just kind of rush early and then slow down and do things right after.
Right. Good call. I like it. All right. Well, good to have you back. Welcome back to the Arnold, and you'll catch up on sleep sooner or later.
Yeah, starting like pretty soon here, like 5 minutes from now, I will be asleep.
Hey, don't be a little bitch.
Yeah.
That might be the title for this.
It might be. Arnold recap. Don't be a little bitch. So hey, this is our last episode before I think we're gonna have our final deadline for the top 5 driving songs. So right. Sunday, March 12th is the last day, probably for sure this time.
Probably for sure. No, for sure. Sure. We've got a few lists now.
Yeah. I think I haven't actually looked.
People. Oh, okay. All right, so probably.
Nah, you know what? I'm tired of it. I'm not tired of the list. I'm tired of talking about it. So
okay.
So I want to actually talk about the songs. So Sunday, March 12th is the deadline for sure. If you snooze, you lose. All of the clever sayings that go along with that.
All right. So we'll get into talk about the driving songs next week.
Yeah. So we'll start actually like releasing the songs next week. Or I don't know. We haven't figured it out. Are we going to release all the names of people participating first and then the songs the following week so that there's no names tied to the songs? Or do we want to just do the songs without the names?
I think the songs without the names. We're going to have to talk about this, figure this out. Yeah. And I think we could start making the music lists so that we could link out to, hey, here are the number 5 songs.
Yeah.
Take a listen.
Yeah.
And prepare people.
Or do we want to just make one list of all the songs? That way they can just listen and then they're familiar with them all. I don't know what the best way is.
We should say goodbye to people and then we can hash this out.
I like hashing it out now. I like people to know our thought process. This is how we work.
This is how we work. It is on the fly, but we usually get to something good. So what I'm thinking is at some point, and I don't know what generally we've talked about, here's the top 5 songs, and we've talked about, the reasoning why people had them, right? But then we get to the actual face-offs. Definitely when we get to the face-offs, I want to have, list A face off against list B. So like 2 separate lists.
Yeah, for sure.
So maybe we do for like the 5 weeks leading up to that, we do a big list for all of the number 5 songs. And then a 4 and a 3, 2, 1, or we could just do one giant list of all the songs for now.
I know what we can do. I have a thought. So we make the top 5 driving songs playlist, but you only add the number 5 songs the first week, and then you add the number 4 songs to the same list on the second week. That way people don't have to go figure out how to find this playlist 5 different times. They can just find it once. Right. And it just gets stuff added to it.
I like that idea.
Yes. See, we have a great process.
Yes. I talk and then Josh goes, no, this is how it should be. And I go, okay, great. All right. And then when it comes to the time of doing the face-offs, we make separate lists. So you can
So we can do those the exact
anonymously.
same. Just take the name of the person that submitted it out.
Right.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
We know what we're
Yeah,
doing.
it'll be fine. You'll have to get me the list.
Yep. I'll share it with
the
you as
top
soon
5
as
songs before.
yeah, I'll share it with you right now.
Okay. I can start making the 5 lists.
Yeah.
And then anyone else who adds a playlist, it's just adding 1 or 2 people. So if you haven't got your playlist in, the top 5 driving songs, do it now. Don't be a little bitch, because we're making this thing interactive. You can listen to the music, which I don't know why we didn't do before.
Yeah, well, so Stacy corrected me on that. She actually has done them, but we always made them after the fact so people could listen, but we never did them like before the voting.
During the voting. And I've heard you can actually play a song on the air as long as you're talking about the song and not trying to take credit about it.
Okay,
But
if we can, if you're sure about, no, that's easy to do. I was just always been worried about copyright stuff. So if we can do that for sure, then I'll do it.
I'll ask chatbot GBT
There
about
you
the
go.
legalities.
There you go.
Because I use it for everything now.
Yeah, I know, it's crazy. It's addicting.
Kind of. All right. Well, I think that's all we need to talk about then. We can wrap this up and you can start on your beauty rest.
All right. Sounds good.
All right. Good to see ya.
You too.
Talk to you next week.
All right. Later.
Bye now.
Thank you so much for listening. If you enjoyed today's episode of the Powerlifting and Power Ballads podcast, please remember to subscribe and share it with your friends.